I want to empower you all to understand how letting go is super transformative and how you have to navigate that transition from basically moving into a new neural net, where letting go is the process of releasing that old neural net so you can embrace a higher state of love, peace, and clarity. And that's the power of letting go. It's super painful when you aren't aware of it, but when you are, it's kind of like a more graceful experience. So, um, like a good example is I'm working on my new offering, which is the future self experience, where you take an intake session where I learn about your current neural net and where you are, what has shaped you from your past, your beliefs, your current neural net in terms of what you think and feel on the majority of the time, and then where you want to go, the new neural net, the new neighborhood that you want to live in. And with that process, I've realized that the transformation to that new future self experience with some of the clients I've had is the process of letting go, of realizing that you have current beliefs and current thoughts, neural networks that you have to become aware of, that you have to let go in order for that new reality to happen. And then the closer and closer you get to that new frequency of a new reality and that new neighborhood, the new neural net, your old neural net will test you. It'll test you in keeping you in the past, keeping you in the same neural net, and test you with experiences and distractions that it knows your weaknesses. So it's going to try to attract you back into that old neural net in people, places, things, time, events, or money, because it knows if you disconnect from that neural net, that neuron is going to die. So it does everything to keep you into that old neural net of comfort because the mind is terrified of change. So, kind of knowing that process of transforming your old neural net to your new neural net is the process of letting go. So, if you've ever felt this, there's something in your life that's just like falling apart, relationships, jobs, or like even your sense of self, when you look back at it, you then can realize that it was a experience of transformation. And for you to transform your life, that is the process that really needs to happen. So let's think of like, what does it mean to let go? And a lot of people think in relationships, letting go is like giving up or ending something. But it's really in my experience, a relationship for me shows me the beliefs or the thoughts that I believe in about what I believe I deserve in terms of relationship. And so when you start awakening and moving more into your heart, you're tested with all the limiting and self doubt that you have. So you can become aware of that in order to move and go beyond that as a human person looking to become a better person. So, when in my experience, all my relationships just showed me like they are a mirror of me, and anything that came up that triggered me, now that I look back on it, was showing me my self doubt, my lack of confidence, my belief in like what I deserve in terms of someone mirroring unconditional love for me. So, as much as it hurt to let certain relationships go, I know that it was also a process of me letting go those behaviors and thoughts I had that didn't serve me because they were just showing me in a very confrontational way the things I didn't like about myself that I needed to work on that was lacking. And when I let that relationship go, realizing that that's like a mirror of me letting go that program. So it's really painful because that's the process. The emotional pain is the process of those neurons letting go and attaching to new neurons, a new neural neighborhood. So this is the process of transformation, and you can't transform unless you face that pain and face yourself in all the ways that you limit yourself, you doubt yourself, you don't root for yourself, and your reality, if you're not in a relationship, it could be a job. Your job's going to mirror that. You're going to get feedback that triggers you. It's going to tell you all the ways that you also limit yourself. You don't believe in yourself. So whatever you're focusing on, either a relationship or a job, I feel like your relationships and jobs are very parallel to how you perceive yourself. They're the biggest triggers for you to notice where you limit yourself or where you're still staying in lack. So your job will show that to you, your relationship will show that to you. And instead of being triggered and reacting to it, you have to be able to endure the pain of realizing where you are like that. And that's what's called surrender. Instead of feeling defeated, you want to sit and endure that pain of realizing, yeah, I could have loved myself more. I could have showed up more for myself, because when you're not, your reality is going to mirror that back to you, whether you're in your job or your relationship, or a certain event that's going to take place. So once you realize that everything is you, you're able to be more observant and less triggered by things, because you're just learning. You're learning more about yourself. And that's the path of like mystery schools, where the mystery is you. And they make you understand that when you look at reality, it's helping you to learn about you instead of being triggered by it, instead of seeing yourself separate from it, which is a very egoic stance, because the ego sees everything separate from you and it's not a reflection of you. So until you start seeing that everything is you, that you're that powerful, that you can create people, places, things, times, and events uh, to either trigger or support you, it's just showing you that's the state of consciousness that you're in. And if you want to move into a new one, endure that pain of learning about yourself, learning about the ways that you stay limited and in lack. And that's the science of letting go when you understand neuroplasticity and your neural net, that your brain is wired through repetition. So when I do the intake session, I learn about the patterns in your life, the patterns in your relationships, the patterns in your career, the patterns in how you perceive the world, and where that all stems from. So then I can understand that's the neural net that you're in, and how the plasticity in your neural net needs to start shifting to the new neural net. And depending on your age and how strong those patterns are, sometimes it takes a while to change that neural net, because you're so used to that comfort zone and it's scary to be in the unknown. But when you embrace the unknown, that's pretty much learning how to be present, uh, super present. So you're aware of every decision and thought that you have, if it's aligned to your new neural net or your past. And you have to realize, if you're living in your past, then you're experiencing limiting beliefs and thoughts that keep you from growing. They keep you from more heightened emotional states, like joy, which joy is like our natural emotional state. And if you realize that you're not really at joy, then you're living in the past. There's like a thought hologram or a pattern that you keep saying to yourself or believing, that's keeping you in that comfort zone of negativity. And so you have to start learning that you have to start to do new patterns, start to change with new behaviors. And you have to realize that those old patterns will resist, those old neurons will resist. And so you have to create a lot of inner strength to overcome that fear and self-doubt, because it's going to, your own ego is going to tell you you shouldn't do that. You should be afraid of change. You're not going to succeed. Like all the things that you see in movies with a villain, that's the old neurons of the past creating fear and self-doubt, so you don't move into that new neural net. And that's the human experience of ascension, is change. And if you don't change, then you're just going to stay here, and you're going to keep living in this matrix of negativity until it gets worse and worse and worse, to force you that realize that you're suffering, that you're creating it in order to wake you up. And it doesn't have to get so bad if you really start realizing how powerful you are. And this process of letting go is extremely uncomfortable, because your brain is protecting that old identity. So if you're trying to create a new identity for yourself, a new reality, your brain, you have to just realize and become so aware of where your brain is at, so you can change the patterns to that new neural net. So when you realize that you wake up every day and you're like thinking of survival, what do I need today to keep surviving? That's the old neural net. That's the inherited Earth neural net as a human that gets installed in you You don't even ask for, but that's the experience of this unseen enemy that we all have in our head that is keeping you in lower states of consciousness. And the human experience is to be go beyond the limitations of your body, of your mind, because those are all 3D aspects of this reality. You're like infinite potential kind of being. So you have to come into a reality of limitation to then remember who you are and how powerful you are, and then realize that's the game, that's the experience here. And none of what we experience is as real as you want it, depending on your belief on how real you believe things are. So if you believe that reality is not a hologram and it's super physical and everything takes effort and a ton of work to change, then that's going to be your experience of reality. But if you can realize that you are creating everything that you see, people, places, things, times, events, and that you want it to change, you have to become that change. And then that reality will reflect you. Until then, you just need to be aware of what you're currently experiencing to then learn more about yourself and be like, okay, so this is the things I want to change because it's just reflecting me of the patterns of thought and beliefs that I habitually focus on. And that's the emotional battle of change where it's like letting go kind of feels like grief. Like when you're in a relationship and you want to let go of that relationship, it's showing whatever was triggering you. You can either choose to grow or let it go. For me, letting go is probably more impactful because it not only transforms yourself, but the person that you're with. And that letting go process, most of the time, you kind of have to do it alone because that old pattern, unless you both are committed to growing together and being honest and actually taking the steps to change together, then that can happen. But until you really make that choice and believe it, you kind of have to be on your own to make all this happen. And it'll happen faster because you're not distracted by old patterns, or you're not constantly triggered to react to. You can actually sit and endure the pain and focus instead of constantly being triggered and having to endure and go back and forth all the time. So that emotional cycle of denial, resistance, fear, acceptance, and transformation is what you have to experience to transform. And then realize that your ego only uses fear to keep you in the known. And you have to become aware of that. If you're not aware of it and you just choose fearful experiences to keep you in that comfort zone, then that's keeping you in that old neural net. And you're not growing with the struggle of this emotional grief that you need to experience. So that's why when you see movies of transformation, there's this period of someone losing a relationship, losing a family member, experiencing grief because that's their old neural net, the old belief system transforming into a new one. That's why pain is the most transformative way to get you out of your ego shell and into your heart because you're out of that comfort zone of control. And you're now moving into that new reality where anything is possible. And so when you have to take this journey, realize that the power of awareness is identifying reoccurring negative thoughts and beliefs. Write it down, become aware of it. Where does it come from? How did it start? And then what is the new negative, not the new negative thought, what is the new reoccurring pattern that you want to start experiencing in life? And you have to experiencing limiting beliefs with empowering truths. Like I am the creator of my reality. I create the hologram that I experience every day when I open my eyes instead of thinking about all the negative news that we're constantly being bombarded with. None of that is real. It is just programming. It is living in the past of negativity, survival, and fear. So practical exercise is journal. Write down everything that you're thinking and feeling every day and realize, is this really serving me? Or can I let all this go and focus on a new reality, focus on abundance, focus on uh, thinking about what you really want to experience in life. And when you start doing that, you'll start realizing that you might be addicted to a lot of toxic behaviors. Like you might be addicted to drama, blame, and self sabotage. And that all keeps you stuck into that survival neural net program. And when you notice those certain habits, you'll notice that they give you temporary comfort, but never long term growth. And that is why it is a comfort zone, because you're more comfortable believing in negative thoughts about the world, politics, people, places, things, time, events, than focusing on yourself. What do I really want in life? What do I really want to experience? What do I want to attract? Because you realize the comfort from the ego juice that you get with blaming, the drama, and the ways that people self sabotage themselves. It's feeding off you. Your ego's basically the ego juice that you get from blaming someone instead of yourself is draining you of your energy and keeping you in fear. So that's why I say living in your heart, you stop aging because you're no longer doing that to yourself. You're no longer feeding the ego and giving it juice to feel good. Instead, you're using that energy to feel good about yourself and not in seeing that everything is connected to you and that there is no separation. So you can have the power to change it. And when you are in a relationship and it starts to become unaligned, you have to realize that maybe that relationship had a purpose to trigger you and show you all the ways that you have self doubt and have limitations in your life and you don't stand up for yourself. So it's showing you that as an experience to trigger you that like this is what needs your attention now because you're getting that experience from a mirror and that is serving its purpose to show you in its most triggering way all your negative beliefs and thoughts about yourself. And when you realize that you let go of those toxic connections, it's showing you have to let go that belief in yourself so then you can open space for true love and harmony. So no matter what relationship you have, I bet you once you release that toxic experience, the next thing was even better. But it keeps evolving the more and more that you're aware of yourself and you make those changes. And for me, the last relationship I had taught me a lot about my own self-confidence, um, and validation and knowing that I need to create that within. And so like I've always had a unnatural fear about like doing comedy and doing skits, even though I believe I'm really funny and I can be really funny. But when you have an idea and you never see anything like it, my mind realizes, oh, that's stepping out of your comfort zone. You have nothing to fall back on. So how do you know it's going to be good? And then you hear all the people around me saying you have this idea, but you know, it might not be successful at first. Or you have those mirrors for me to then be aware of it. Okay, so that's my programming that I need to get over, that I need to say the opposite of to then start doing it, or just let it go completely. I always say, let it all go completely. Let that all go to silence so then it can transform into what you really want, which is now happening with these spiritual skits I'm doing. And I have so much joy doing them because it's like I'm finally free of that programming. And now I'm sharing my experiences of being that unaware in the lower self to then connect to what I'm experiencing, hearing from my higher self in those skits. So, like, I'm literally showing you my process from all those lower states of consciousness and how my higher self was talking to me and guiding me through my transformation, which was brutally honest because I experienced that honesty in my reality. You know, having people say those things to me, having my relationships say those things to me, and showing my toxic unconscious behavior. And now that I look at it, it's freaking hilarious. It's so like comedy is all about your unconscious behavior of being like not aware of how powerful you are. And then realizing it is the beauty of seeing someone transform and seeing someone believe in themselves. Like that's the soul I want to give to these videos. And because that's the soul that I have when I have that experience. So that's a little personal experience about why I'm doing these skits to show that my transformation now that can look back at, I can laugh at it and have a lot of fun with it because it's now I'm able to see from a higher point of view because I let go of all those past versions of myself that now looking back at crack me up. And I hope you can do that same thing too when you look at your life, like laugh at yourself because it'll serve you in so many ways to laugh at yourself. I always say laughing is the best way to release the programming, is the best way to dissolve old patterns of thought and disarm yourself from being so serious, because that's also a reflection of your ego when you're always serious. And that same experience of relationships can also be in your jobs or roles that no longer serve you. You might have an identity that's tied to your job. I talk about this a lot to all my coworkers at Gaia, because a lot of them have goals and dreams and things they want to see and transform and change there. But for me, I'm like, I've experienced the ego need of goals. I've experienced that when I did fashion. I, did everything I wanted to, but then I realized like, oh, I'm not that satisfied. So maybe fashion and goals isn't what is necessary in my life to be happy. I wanted to do Victoria's Secret, I did that. I wanted to get a high paying big in fashion designer, Oscar Lenta, did that. And I made enough money to prove myself like, oh, I could do that. So then I then shifted to creating more meaningful content because that's what I wanted to become. And so I changed my identity of being a fashion photographer in certain capacity of goals to now like full circle now. I still want to do that, but I see it differently in a different way. Like I love making people feel good and look good. And so I want to keep doing that. That's a really good skill of mine. And so I want to do that in my whole experience of reality because I no longer have goals. Because I think goals are like your ego's way to be like, I need something in the future to be happy. But if it's not, that doesn't align to my true purpose of just like, I just want to be around happy people. So I need to be happy. So no matter what job I do, no matter what relationship I have, that's what I'm going to attract because that's what I'm focusing on. And then you start aligning to people that have the same idea of living in purpose rather than goals. And when you start seeing people that are in their goals or needing something in order to be happy, that you see the signs of misalignment, like burnout, lack of passion, and feeling trapped. So if you experience that in your life in any way, you're not aligned to what you really want in life. So you might need to let that go. And that might be experienced as letting go a job, because your perception of that job is literally just showing you your perception of yourself. And so you have to let go. When you let go a job, it's not a failure, but it's just realignment with your true self, especially if you're constantly in a job where you feel burnout, lack of passion, and feeling trapped. But you can also transform that of being like, okay, now that I'm aware that that job is showing me that, you can change your perception of it and make an effort to do that change within. So then that reality will reflect outside of you. Like for me, that example is I've always wanted to do humor at Gaia since I started like 3 years ago. And now that I'm doing it, people are like seeing something that, was hard for me to describe to them because they're not me. They can't, they're so left-brained that it was hard to see the creative part of it. And now that I'm embodying that as a frequency, people are starting to maybe do that at Gaia because I'm no longer needing that outside of me to prove myself. I'm just doing it already. So then that reality will reflect that and be more open to it. So I hope that makes sense to you. If you really think about that, like everything around you is a perception of how you feel about you, whether it's your relationship or your job. And it's just showing you that. I feel like those are the two things that trigger you the most. So once you realize that, you can change it. Excuse me. And so the test of your transformation to navigate this transition, like when you are in the void, when you've let go, but the new hasn't arrived yet, that space is the most challenging space to be in because you're like in a void. You have to endure this unknown. And that experience is feeling like having new thoughts that you don't know you don't know what that's like it because you never felt them. You never had them. So it feels weird. And things start to shift and show you things in ways that are different than before. Like people start to change and you're like, what is happening? But you have to just be aware of it. Don't react to anything or get pulled into anything until you know if it's serving you or not. So this is, like I said, the most challenging but powerful stage. And when you have to stay so strong because the mind is going to want to return you to old patterns. Be like, my experience, a lot of it is with new relationships with women or kind of freelance gigs that I don't want to do. Be like, hey, here's a lot of money. Come back to this comfort zone. Don't live your passion yet. Um, don't do anything new because I don't like that. You know, uh, here's a new person in your life that's going to distract you from doing what you want to do. It's going to keep you in a comfort zone of like ego, of praise and everything like that, to distract you from like focusing on the new. So you just have to become aware of this game the mind plays, and this battle of your old neurons to overcome your old self. Like overcoming yourself is the point of mystery schools, to learn that you have to do that in order to transform. And you have to know that your neurons will do anything to keep you in that old state of energy. That's why, like in the Lord of the Rings, you see that war, the battle at the end. That's the battle of your old neurons being like, I'm going to do everything to keep you from experiencing peace. So it's like a war. It's like in the Matrix of Agent Smith being like having a war and battle with him, with all the Agent Smiths at the end, because that's like your old programming, all your old thoughts that are going to be like, we have to fight you to keep you distracted from this new reality. And when that happens, it's when Neo lets go. He surrenders because there is no enemy anymore. There is no old programming that's left in his body. So he literally surrenders, and the ego uses black goo and takes over him. But really, that's him overcoming his old self by totally surrendering to that old self, realizing that he doesn't need to win. Because the line in that movie, like the ending is the beginning. That means the end of your ego is the beginning of your new life. And until you overcome that limited state in your mind, then you're not really living the beginning of your life. You're stuck in the past. So notice the triggers that are in your life that are pulling you back when you're trying to move forward. Understand that you have to have extreme discipline in choosing new thoughts and emotions. You can't go back. And the thing that I always tell people is like, you don't need anyone outside of you to do this, but sometimes you do need a guide or a coach to point that out and tell you, you need discipline. You need to focus more. You need to stop allowing your old state of being to control you. And you need that self-confidence and that energy to push people sometimes, because if they've never had support or have never been able to do that for themselves, then they need someone to help them in those times. But you can also do this on your own. That is the best way to go because it will teach you the most about yourself. But sometimes it is easy to slip. And that's why you need friends to push you. You need a coach, you need a guide to get you over that barrier, because it takes extreme discipline. Just like working out, you need to change behaviors, you need to change thought patterns. And if you're lazy about it, then you need someone to be like, get off your ass, go do that. Why aren't you doing this practice in the morning? Why aren't you doing it at night? And keep you accountable. Because if that's the way that people slide is accountability, laziness, and lack of focus. So if you have that in your life, that's why I'm offering my guided meditations every week in these sessions, to keep you focused, to keep you realizing if you want this new reality, you have to be aware. You have to have discipline and you have to concentrate, or you're going to slide into old patterns of unconscious behavior, laziness, and no purpose. And when you want to notice things that help you recognize these signs of success and change in your life, realize you'll have a new emotion of blissful peace, a lot of joy, feeling creatively free, and clarity. So once you start having those experiences, these new emotions, those are signs of new success for you. And the physical signs that you'll feel in the body is more energy, way better sleep, and improved health. For me, the biggest change that's happened for me after letting go of a relationship and certain thought patterns and beliefs is that like I have so much energy now. Excuse me. I like go to bed at 2, wake up at 7, and I feel really good. I'm always like happy and inspired. But I also feel that I have a lot better health, a lot, and since I have more energy, that's experiences like money just flowing and coming into me out of nowhere. So that's the also the benefits of letting go, because the old things that keep your energy low, like from your heart and down, once that's released and you have more energy that goes up to your heart, you experience that as abundance. But also the difference that you have to realize is that if that abundance is coming from you doing more work that's going to keep you more burnt out or not aligned to your path or your purpose, that's the old neural net coming back up, distracting you. Because a lot of people, they'll find their weaknesses is money. So then you're going to have a distraction from the old neural net, be like, keep doing this. Here's a lot of money, but it's going to keep you busy from this new neural net that's not aligned to your purpose, what you really want to do. Because the new opportunities will have aligned relationships. It'll feel like a career shift and more creative inspiration. But if it's still kind of doing the same old thing, same old pattern, but just in a new client, a new illusion, then it's your old reality being like, here's a distraction to keep you from focusing on the new reality that you want. And so you have to really learn that you have to follow your heart. You have to learn what your purpose and passion is. If you don't have passion in your life, that means you've given up. You aren't caring about yourself as much as you need to. So that's why you need to do guided meditations to get you back and grounded into your body and into your heart, because your heart's electromagnetic field is 5,000 times stronger than your brain. So in my meditations, when I help guide you into your heart, it it gets you into that creator mode, which is 5,000 times stronger than the mind to manifest. Things happen faster. You shift faster. You experience new things that you magnetize faster instead of all the effort. And so the importance of feeling your way through the unknown is becoming aware that you need to live in that heart space. Find your passion and just focus on that. To have the discipline to be like, I need to do this today. I need to focus on what pushes me to become better instead of settling for less. And guided meditations, learning how to breathe and be in your body is how you tune into your heart's wisdom. And if you need clarity and guidance to step forward when you are feeling like you are in that known, make sure you give yourself time to be like, okay, is this something I really want to do? Is this something that really is going to give me joy and benefit me? And if it's not, just don't do it. Let go. That's the guidance that you'll get and the clarity once you're living in more space that you're aligned to. And that's why you need to give yourself time for presence and silence, because that's the greatest ally in transformation. Sitting with yourself, be like, do I really want to do this? Is it worth all my energy, my concentration and focus? Is this going to help me create my new reality, or is this literally draining me just because I want money, or just because I want attention, or just because I want like a raise? Am I settling for a job um, just because I think the money is comfortable? Like that's also a pattern of the ego, is being like, here's a ton of money so you can live in a comfort zone and not fulfill your passion, not do not to do what you really want to do in your life and become a person of joy, perfect health, and wealth. Knowing that you can create anything in your imagination because you have no fear anymore, no doubt, no no beliefs that you can't. So that's why meditation and awareness is the best way to calm your mind, to amplify your intuition, to follow whatever it is that serves you the most. Because if you don't give yourself time to really think that and just constantly go, 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 go without any awareness, you're going to end up finding yourself doing something you didn't want to do for like a year or even more. So that practical exercise of focusing your heart and then letting go if it doesn't serve you is what I do on a daily basis to find out, what do is this going to add more joy to my life? And in order for you to really sit and become aware of the new reality you want, my biggest advice to you is to be like, when you wake up every day, what's something my new self would do that my older self would never do? So then I start living every day that way. What's something new I can do today that I would have never done in the past? What's something that scared me to do? So now I'm going to do it. So that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. Or then if I'm confused or like afraid of doing something, I just sit and be like, actually, I probably would do that in my new reality as my new self. So then I just imagine and give myself time, imagine that best case scenario where I would do that, and then feel it like it's going to happen. And then I just do it. And then that's what these skits are like. That's what me now shooting again is like, because I'm realizing I love shooting because it lets me to practice intuitively feeling what I want to create instead of like doing left brain busy work. While shooting, I meet with someone, I have to interact with them, intuitively feel in the moment the best case scenario. And so that's what I love about photography and being creative, because that's what I practice and do when I'm doing that, instead of just thinking about the money or having a client. It's more like, oh, sweet, I get to intuitively exercise and have a lot of fun doing it and realize like I can create anything in the moment rather than having to plan every detail out. Uh, because it's more fun in the moment. It's more surprising. So having that new perspective of seeing loss is actually liberation, and how ending is an opportunity for a new beginning is the path of all transformation, of a path of ascension. So if you want to ascend out of limitation, doubt, fear, lack, and fear, you have to let go of all that inside of you. You can't have thoughts that are fearful. That's programming. You can't have thoughts of disbelief and lack of love for yourself. That's just programming. That's just the noise of the ego. And so the truth that nothing real can never be lost, you have to realize they're just illusions that are falling away. I know this is really hard for your mind to grasp, that everything is an illusion, that maybe the past jobs that you had or relationships, they were all holograms that you needed to experience, that you created to show you what you needed to let go in order to grow. So think about that. I know that's like your mind's kind of like, what? I created that relationship. It wasn't as real as like as you think. I had to create that suffering to grow. Like that's how powerful you are in this reality, this video game that you're experiencing every day. And you need to start having these trickle moments of awareness and reality to transform yourself and grow, because then you realize I'm so powerful. I created experiences of suffering to then remember who I really am. And then now when you realize that, it's like now I can create experiences of amazing new experiences with people, places, and things that are more aligned to what I want in life, more aligned to my passion, my joy, and my bliss. The best story I can give this to you is I had a 9-year relationship in Brooklyn, and it ended mutually. There was no horrible thing that happened, but I had just this realization that I had to let something go. It wasn't serving me. We weren't serving each other, and I wanted both of us to be happy. So then we broke it off after 9 years. And the hardest thing I let go was that 9 years of time together, but also a corgi that we raised. And after that experience, I manifested like a $60,000 job, because my energy was now free from those limitations and those beliefs. And I was able to use that to move across the country and come to Colorado with just like whatever I could fit in my car, and not knowing anyone. I just took that leap of faith. It was like, I need a new reality. So I trust in this new experience, something my older self would never do. So I just packed up and left. And ever since then, I've had a great experiences of life, but I'm always continually on this evolutionary journey for myself. So for me, my relationships, my certain careers, certain jobs, or certain freelance jobs have told me where I'm at in life. And after letting that all go, with realizing new things I needed to let go, I now am more living into my purpose and passion and bliss than ever before, because I had to realize, from my relationships, the mirrors, and my jobs, what was keeping me back. So hope this information helps you to realize, the things that you need to let go that no longer serve you. and how every ending, no matter how hard it is to let go, is the beginning of your new life. And nothing really can be lost because they're just illusions. They were holograms that you created for yourself to wake you up, to remember who you really are and what you really want in life. It's making space for for the truth of who you are and what you want out of life. Because you only have this life to live and transcend those limitations, unless you want to come back here and do it again. I don't know about me, but I definitely don't. I feel like I'm realizing the power that we all have inside from my own experiences, my own transformation, that it's time to only think positive. It's time to only believe in yourself. And it's time to do something new that you've never done so you can experience that bliss that your soul is aching for. And so you have to realize that unknown is never empty. It's just full of infinite possibilities that you've never thought of before. You've never done for yourself. So give yourself time to think of more infinite possibilities rather than the comfort zone of fear, doubt, lack, and limitation. So today, use the time to commit to letting go of one thought, one behavior, or one relationship that no longer serves you, because then you'll release energy and experience a life that has more possibility. And no matter how hard it is to let go, know that that pain, that emotional pain that you will experience is not bad. It is the thing that transforms you and cracks you out of your ego shell that has kept you from lower states of consciousness like shame and disbelief and fear and anything that makes you feel bad about yourself. Like that's just the game of this reality, to take a thought and make you not believe in yourself. Because all thoughts are illusions unless they're coming from you, believing in yourself, having, thoughts of infinite possibilities. Those are the real thoughts. The rest is programming that you've just allowed into your consciousness and believe that as an experience of life that you have to, but you don't. Nothing is as real as you want it to be. Know that everything comes from you. So if you've think of this, every day you wake up, you create a new hologram. So if you're still living in the past hologram that you created, it's draining your energy to create a new hologram. Like you wake up, your hologram, like VR, it's like 2.5 feet in front of you. You're in a bubble experiencing your hologram that you think is real, but you're in an illusion. You're believing in things that you can shift instantly when you shift it inside of you instantly. And that's the things I've learned in quantum mechanics and quantum physics, but mainly from my teacher, that she told me, you live in an egg, you live in a hologram. And until you wake up from that egg, you have to crack it open with believing in yourself and transforming your old neural net, overcoming that old neural net and walking into a new neural net, something that you would never do in that old neural net. When I lived in New York and I was stuck in a studio apartment and I wanted to manifest $25,000 to move into a new space where I had 10 grand just to move in and 15 grand for all new furniture, I had to realize that I had to live in that new state, in that new neural net. So I had to like be happier, be joyful, be more present, be excited for life. And I kept being in that state until I booked a $25,000 job from Saks within 6 months. And that was when I was doing it unconsciously, like practicing it like in the beginning. And then when it happened, I'm like, this shit is real. Like I'm that powerful. So then now when I experience periods of negativity or like periods of not having a lot of money, it's like, fuck, I'm creating this illusion again. I'm like believing in my doubt, believing in unhappy people, believing in doing work that I don't really want to do. And then having those experiences reflect of me saying, like, I don't want to work with you anymore. Here's cold shoulder. Here's some feedback at work that's not that great. Like I was believing in those patterns of myself. And once I let all that go and just be like, I need to transform from within. I need to sit in myself, be aware, endure that pain, and been like, crap, I don't believe myself. I'm not. using my time and energy to be fully present and do my best. So then I started doing that and being more honest with myself, being more honest with people, be like, you're not serving me. You're right. I don't need you. Good luck in life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's serving me to let go of all that energy I focused on in the past. And then now I'm able to create exactly what I want. And I don't need to have validation. I don't need to have attention from doing it because it's like I am so aligned to my soul that's like, yes, I'm just expressing my soul. And that's the goal of life. Because once you're doing that, then you experience the benefits of that. But you don't need it. I don't need anything outside of me anymore to be happy because I'm like able to just express. And I know that's like the opposite of this ego reality, this empty reality of, needing validation, but then knowing that it's like it comes from emptiness inside and not being able to face that because that's the path of the ego. But once you are on the path of the soul, every moment that you express yourself from your soul is just pure bliss and joy. There's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no disbelief in yourself. There's just pure connection, pure harmony, and the joy in life. So I hope this is all gives you more perspective on why letting go, surrendering, and becoming a new, better version of yourself is the path of ascension and all my work. And if you really want a guiding coach to help you realize your patterns, realize the old neural net that you're living in, and help push you into a new neural net, join my membership, look into my future self experience films, because in that whole process of an intake session, it's like a 2 or 3 hour intake session process. And just doing that and then hearing the script that I give you has already transformed my clients in days. And they haven't even seen the film yet. So once you start reading that new script of your new neural net, doing that daily and then experiencing that emotional state with the film, your reality will probably become that in less than 30 days. But you have to have that discipline to stay in that new state of consciousness and awareness and do something new every day than the past. And all that takes is courage, awareness, and you know, just that insane belief in yourself. So if you have any questions, let me know. If not, just feel free to enjoy your Mother's Day. Do something new and nice and special for yourself and your mom. I encourage you to let go of one thought, behavior, and relationship that no longer serves you and try to inspire yourself every day so you can let go those things and have that difficult conversation that you've been afraid to have, especially with yourself. And then you can experience that you'll have the courage to do that in your reality. So definitely let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me. Thank you guys again for supporting my work, for being open to this information and doing the work on yourselves because that's what's going to change the outside reality. The more that we let go of these limiting patterns and disbeliefs and negativity in ourselves, collectively we'll then experience that in outer reality. Because I always say disclosure, abundance, having free energy, that's all a mirror of living in the heart because your heart always gives you free energy while the ego limits your energy. So then if we're all starting to live in the heart, then we'll experience free energy. Right now, we're just seeing the letting go, the collapse of these negative realities, negative thoughts, and negative beliefs. And we're experiencing that. And then we'll have to face it and experience the pain of that existing inside of us as existing outside of us. So we can let it all go and transform it into something new. So that's why I do this work to show you the purpose of you doing it individually will then happen collectively in the most positive, transformative, and beautiful way. So I support all of you to do this. I'm here for you. I believe in you. And if even if you don't, and we'll always be here. So thank you guys so much again for supporting my work, being a part of this, being open to this information because it's not easy. There's about probably 5% of people that are really doing this quietly because the best sign of people that are doing this is they don't project it outside of you. You're just doing it within because it's that important to you. And the people that really act it and live it are the people that I am inspired by, like filmmakers, because they're able to create any reality by imagining it. They're able to transform their consciousness by acting it, by seeing it in their mind's eye to then experience it. So guys, thank you guys again. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. And don't forget about my 58 membership, $7 a month, 4 guided meditations a month, every week, and these bi-weekly sessions on Sundays, and full access to my content. And anytime you have a question, I'm always here for you in my membership, whether that be through a private Q&A session or something that you need help to work on. I'm always here for you. And if you are interested in creating a new reality, but you want the guidance and coaching to do that in the discipline, check out my future self experience, where we start the very deep but personal intake session to help me understand your neural net, and then push you into the new neural net and create a script and film with the frequency and the new programming of the new neighborhood of the neural net that you need to live in order for that to happen for you. So thank you guys.